Hello everyone, welcome to this session, the seminar for CFA course. Before we begin with the session, just let me know if there's any issue with the audio or the video, we'll get it fixed. All right, let's begin. So this session is going to be focused primarily on the details of CFA course, what the course structure is, fees details, the offerings of EduPristine, all of the details about CFA as a program. That is what this entire session is going to be focused on. At any time, at any point, you have any queries about CFA program or about the study material or anything, you can you have feel free to ask from me. Like you can type it in the Q&A section or you can use the chat. If you want mic access, just raise your hand. I'll give you the mic access. So whichever way you prefer to communicate, I'm fine with that. The idea is at the end of this session, you should not have any doubts or queries about what CFA is and whether it would be a good choice for you or not. So that is what we are here to clear you guys. Let's begin right away with the CFA certification. What exactly is CFA certification? What all benefits does it have? CFA certification, the easiest way to explain is just like in India, we have chartered accountants. Chartered accountants are specialists in the matters of accountancy, in the matters of tax, in the matters of corporate law. Similarly, CFA is a qualification which is provided to people who are aiming to be professionals in the field of finance. When I say finance, we are talking mostly about finance and investments, not financial reporting, so not making of financial statements, but analyzing them and taking financial decisions on the basis of this. Financial management, financial analysis, all of those things. So professionals who work in these fields, they are the ones who should be going for the CFA certification. So just like CA is a professional qualification for tax experts, for accountancy experts, CFA is a qualification for finance experts. It has a few benefits that normally other professional qualifications don't have. One of the biggest one is a global recognition. Mostly for every other professional course around the world, each course has a regulating body that is limited to a country. For example, once again, if I say chartered accountants, we have Institute of Chartered Accountants in India, and they only govern chartered accountants in India, which means if you complete CA, it's only valid in India. If you want to go and work in some other country, you will have to clear exams for that country as well. The best thing about CFA is that there is no such limitation in CFA. CFA is offered by one institute on international level, which means whether you complete the CFA, whether you give exams in India, whether you give exams in US, whether you give exams in Europe, anywhere, the value of the certification is exactly same because all of you are giving the same exam with the same institute, same community. So once you complete CFA, you can avail the benefits of that qualification on an international level. There is no restriction, no need to give separate exams every time you go to some other country. Outright, CFA is a global certification. It's a global qualification offered by CFA Institute based in US. It provides a career advantage in the sense that in form of or in the field of finance and investment, CFA is the most highly rated qualifications. One of the toughest ones to achieve, and also one that in terms of its syllabus and in terms of how it approaches the academic side of things, CFA is rated very high, and it is one of the top qualifications anyone can have in the field of finance and investments. It also focuses on practical skills. This is something that as you start studying for CFA, you will recognize. Because what happens is in graduation or in school days or at any other level in your previous studies, we often study for the purpose of writing an exam and the approach we take for studying is mostly focused on reading the books 2 times, 3 times, trying to understand the concept, sometimes even cramming. The great thing about CFA is that throughout the curriculum, at no point is CFA Institute forcing you to cram things that in the real world will not be useful. For example, any formula or any calculation. If in the real world that calculation can be done by Excel or any other computer software, CFA Institute is not going to force you to remember the lengthy process. Rather, CFA Institute is very clear in the sense that if in real world you're not going to be doing that calculation manually, why waste time on doing such things manually? That is why in CFA exam you have a financial calculator for all technical calculations. So calculations, your role is just knowing how to do the calculations in the calculator. That's it. And the key part of CFA exam is then decision making. So they are not trying to test you on whether you can do calculations or not. They are trying to test you on whether or not you can take decisions on the basis of calculations that you've done. So more focused is on practical things, on decision making skills, rather than just pure financial theoretical knowledge. Lastly, community. Because CFA is an internationally recognized single qualification, all over the world, all people who possess CFA charters or even who are enrolled in CFA programs, they all form part of a very big global community. And one thing that you would realize very quickly once you register for CFA, CFA Institute has local societies. So CFA Society of India is there. So that is a society that takes care or that organizes certain events for CFA professionals across India. And all of these events, all of these seminars, these are accessible both to candidates and members. So the good thing about CFA qualification that normally other professions don't have is that the moment you register for the CFA, whether you're a level 1 student itself, you're just a level 1 candidate, still CFA Institute treats you at par with members in terms of what your professional responsibilities are and what all events and stuff you can attend. CFA Society would never hold an event where they exclusively disallow students from taking part. So that's a good thing that these events, they help you in making some connections with the industry professionals. So you will go to these events or maybe attend them online as it is right now. And you'll be communicating, connecting with a lot of people, a lot of senior professionals of the industry. So outright, the great thing about CFA is that right away you get access to the community. In a lot of other professions, community is only for members. Like for the CA, if I take example, CA, the chartered accountants, they have various local societies and they all hold events, but those are normally not accessible to students. They are only accessible to chartered accountant members. But in case of CFA, there would never be such a restriction. Almost everywhere in the rules of CFA also, they always write rules for both members and candidates. So which means whether you have cleared CFA or whether you're just appearing for the exams, your professional capabilities and your professional rules and regulations, all of those are at par with those of members. So CFA Institute right away treats you at par with the members in terms of access to all kinds of information. Now, coming on to the core focus of this particular seminar, this session, we'll discuss details of the CFA program. So far we just discussed the details of the certification of the qualification. We'll now start with the discussion of the program itself. And towards the end, we'll take about 5 minutes or so to discuss a brief about EduPristine and various contact information about them. Me being a faculty of CFA with EduPristine for a little less than 3 years now, the core focus of this session from my side is this. This is what I can help you out with. So any doubts you have about CFA program, I am here. We'll discuss details. At any point you have issues, let me know. We'll go over the details about EduPristine quickly because in any case, 100% accurate information or any sort of information about local centers or anything like that. For that, you would anyways have to coordinate with your local coordinators of education. So information about the course fees and all of those, you'll get accurate details about any offers or something from them only. So we won't waste too much time on that. We'll focus primarily on what the CFA program is. So the first thing that we need is CFA certification eligibility. Basically, let's say you've decided, okay, I want to pursue CFA. What is the minimum requirement you need to be able to register for the exams? CFA has 3 exams: level 1, level 2, and level 3. You can only give them in sequence. None of them has exemptions. So it doesn't matter what your previous qualifications are. Everyone will have to start from level 1. You can give level 2 only if you've cleared level 1. You can give level 3 only if you've cleared level 2. So sequence and no exemptions, that is common. Aside from that, let's say you want to start with CFA, you have to give level 1. What is the eligibility? When can you be eligible to appear for CFA level 1? There are 2 requirements. First, final year graduation. Final year at the time of appearing for the exam. So let's say you want to give your exam in November 2021. In November 2021, you should be in the final year of your graduation. So right now you might be in the second year, but soon you will start third year, and at the time of exam you will be in third year. Fine, no issues there at all. So at the time of giving exam, you should be in the final year of graduation. Aside from that, passport. If you don't have it, get passport, because without passport you will not be able to register. Reason why we need passport. Passport is an ID proof. And because CFA Institute operates in so many countries, they cannot have local ID proofs. They need something that is acceptable internationally. And passport, not only do we need it for registration, it is also something you have to carry with you in the exam hall, because this is your ID proof for the exam also. So in the exam also, the only way they allow you entry in the exam hall is if you are carrying your passport. So passport is needed for the purpose of ID proof itself. There is no such reason that passport is needed because they want some data or anything. No, they need passport mainly for identity purposes. So get your passport. And also one common thing that a lot of students feel, that with passport you might have to go outside India to give exams. No, exams happen in India. Even when you clear all the exams and you want to get your qualification, your degree, that will also be mailed to you in India. So there's no requirement for you at any point to go to US for CFA program. No point. You can stay in India and complete all the requirements. 100% of things can be done from here itself. It's all online. So you need final year graduation and passport. Graduation, does it have to be commerce? No. Any graduation is fine. Whether it's a 3-year graduation or a 4-year graduation, doesn't matter. CFA Institute says final year graduation. So if you're doing engineering, it's normally 4 years. In the 4th year, you can apply. If you're doing BCom, it's normally 3 years. In the 3rd year, you can apply. So final year graduation and passport, if you have that, you can register for level 1. Once you register for level 1, you can sit for the exam. If you clear the exam, you then become eligible to register for level 2. So after clearing level 1, you can give level 2. But level 2 has one other requirement, that graduation should be complete. Which means level 2, you can only give the exam after you have completed graduation. So if let's say you gave level 1 in final year, and you also have a possible attempt where you can give level 2, which is in your final year itself, you are not eligible to register for it. All of these forms are filled on trust basis. So form you will be able to fill. Exam also you will be able to sit for it. But after level 3, when you apply for the charter, for the degree, they will ask you for documentation. And at that time, your graduation documents would create a conflict, and at that time you will have an issue. So level 2 only after clearing the graduation. That's it. And level 3 after clearing level 2. So 3 levels of CFA, and these are the requirements. Let me know if anyone has any doubts with either of these. You can use the chat, Q&A, or just raise your hand if you need mic access. Yeah, Anushka, go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Good morning. So, I just wanted to ask, in general, on an average, how long does it take to clear CFA?
If you clear all 3 levels in first attempts, normally for level 1, it takes about 6 to 9 months of preparation.
Okay.
And I would personally suggest same amount for level 2 and 3 also. But in the very least, if you clear all levels, level 2, the least requirement is 6 months. And this gap in the very least will always be 9 months.
Okay.
So some people just look at this time and they say 1.5 years. But I would say this time should also count. So I would say that for all 3 years, 3 levels, from the day you register to you clearing level 3, it takes about 2 to 2.5 years. Even
Okay.
the new systems. So time from level 1 exam to level 3 is going to be 1.5 years, but you'll also have to prepare for level 1.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Any other doubts? All right. Moving on. Divesh, there is no CFA level 4. So no need to worry about that. CFA is only for 3 levels. There were some rumors going around a few months back, but no need to worry about them. All right. Now talking about what all do we study in CFA. Well, across all 3 levels, topics would remain more or less the same. So you'll study economics at level 1 also, at 2 also, at 3 also. There are 3 subjects, quants, FRA, and corporate finance. These do not exist at level 3. So these subjects, in terms of all you have to study, they reach their max potential at level 2, and after that, they are gone. How exactly are levels structured? That is important. So level 1 is introduction to finance, introduction to all the elements of finance. So when you study equity, you're studying introduction to equity. When you study bonds, which is fixed income, you study introductory material about it. Same for derivatives, same for portfolio management, everything. Every topic is at an introductory level, which means whether you have commerce background or not, it doesn't matter. Level 1 is designed in such a way that even if you have never studied anything related to commerce, you will still be able to have same level of understanding that a commerce student will have. That being said, I am not going to lie to you by saying that commerce students will have same amount of effort that non-commerce students would have to do. No. You will have to put a little bit more effort if you don't have a commerce background, mainly because for you, a lot of the basics that commerce students have been reading in graduation and school, you will also have to understand those. So a little bit time you will have to spend And that is the only advantage that commerce students have. That commerce students have spent last 4 or 5 years studying some of the basics. So a lot of concepts for them would be clear. They already know the logic behind a lot of things. For non-commerce students, they will have to understand that logic fresh. So that is the only extra effort required. But in terms of difficulty is not going to be different for both types of students. So whether you have commerce background or not, exam difficulty would feel exactly same after you have prepared for the exams. So level 1 is the introduction part. Level 2 is focused on these 4 topics. Detail. For example, equity shares of any company. We talk about stock market. So shares of companies, how do we analyze them? How do we decide? How do we do valuation? All of that introductory part is in level 1. Detailed part is in level 2. So level 2 is focused on detailed study of all of these different types of investments. And at level 3, the focus shifts to portfolio management. So level 2 is investments. Level 3 is portfolio management. In fact, at level 3, when you study equity, you don't study specifically equity, you study portfolio management of equity. So level 3 is pretty much almost 80% of your level 3 exam will be portfolio management. Around 40% is direct portfolio management topics. The other topics are also portfolio management. So derivatives, when you study at level 3, it is portfolio management of derivatives, not details of derivatives. Everything you had to study about equity shares, you studied it by level 2. Level 3 is just adding the complexity of how we make a portfolio out of all of this. Now, all of these things, every single topic except ethics and FI. So if I remove these two, the remaining 8 topics, what you study at level 1 becomes the base for level 2. So content will not be same. In fact, level 2 requires knowledge of level 1. So when we study quants, the last topic of level 1 is what you need for the first topic of level 2. So prior knowledge of level 1 is very important. So if at any point you, while preparing for the exam, you feel like one topic is not making sense, should I leave it? You might leave it and clear level 1. It's possible. But you won't be able to succeed in the long run without conceptual clarity of all things. Because at level 2, if you leave quants at level 1, level 2 is also missed. And in an exam where you need very high marks to clear the exam, you probably do not want a situation where you have to leave certain topics. Now, all of these levels require a decent amount of study time. Normally, it is suggested 250 to 350 hours, around 300 hours. My suggestion is you need around 5,000 questions worth of practice. My personal recommendation is always practice a lot of questions for CFA. So instead of putting hours, I would say 5,000 questions, because some students, they have faster pace of study, some have slow pace of study. So it depends. So my target would always be 5,000 questions. That if you can practice 5,000 questions before giving any exam, 5,000 for level 1, 5,000 for level 2, 5,000 for level 3. You can do that, you have a very good preparedness and you have a very good chance of clearing the exams. Let me know if there's any doubts about the subjects or details of how they are split across various levels. All right. Now let's talk about the exam pattern. This no longer matters because it's gone. The new exam pattern is computer-based. It's MCQ on a computer system. If in school days or in graduation you're given some Olympiad where you go to a center and there's a computer system, you do your MCQs there. Exactly That is how CFA exams also work. So at level 1, you have 180 questions split across 99. 90 in first session, 90 in second session. So one exam has 2 sessions. Just like in cricket match, we have a test match with 3 sessions. CFA exams has 2 sessions. Each session is going to be 2 hours plus 15-minute break in between sessions. This is not talking about break from session 1 to session 2. No. Let's say you set for the morning session 90 questions, 2 hours. The actual time you get is 2 hours, 15 minutes, where 15 minutes is for a break in between the session. So one session, 2 hour, 15 minutes. Second session, 2 hour, 15 minutes. Each is split with a 15 minutes of break. Together, these will give you full 180 questions. What CFA Institute does at level 1 is it will tell you what topics will be tested in the morning session, what topics will be tested in the evening session. So they will tell you out of the 10 topics we just looked at, which would be tested in the first exam, which would be tested in the second exam. At level 2 and level 3, they won't tell you that. So level 1, all MCQ, single questions, no negative markings. So if you don't know the answer, you try and give a guess on that. 3 options. So each question will have only 3 options. You have to select 1 out of 3. So outright, if you don't know something, selecting 1 out of 3 is giving you a better chance of getting your guess right, rather than selecting 1 out of 4. At level 2 and 3, the exams change. Level 2 exams, they shift to vignettes, or in simple terms, case study. So at level 1, you get smaller questions, 4 or 5 lines of question and then an MCQ. At level 2, you will get almost 2 or 3 pages worth of a case study. So they will give you information about a particular client, about some situation, and then various elements within that situation. And from that case, they will give you 4 to 6 questions. So each case will have 4 to 6 questions. And there will be a total of 90 questions across both the sessions. So sometimes it's 44, 48, sometimes it's slightly adjusted. So 90 questions split across 2 sessions of level 2. Each exam, level 1, 2, 3, all of them will have 2 sessions of 2 hours, 15 minutes each. The only difference is in level 1, the questions are smaller, they are isolated, 1 question at a time. So you have more questions to do, but in level 2, you will have a very concurrent case. So you will have to study the case, and studying case requires time. So CFA Institute halves the number of questions. You get about 44, 45, 44, 46 questions in each session. Similar thing for level 3 also, you have a vignette style exam. But aside from vignette style exam, you also have a subjective exam. So aside from level 3's one session, which is where you will have to write everything, all the remaining exams, level 3 second session, level 2 both sessions, level 1 also both sessions, they are all computer based MCQ. But level 3 has one portion which is subjective, where you will have to write the answers manually. This will also include case studies, and solution to case studies will not be MCQ, but you will have to write down the solution. Mostly relates to the topics of portfolio management, where question will give you details that, okay, some person came to you with his entire financial history explained in the question. What kind of portfolio would you make for it? So instead of giving an MCQ answer, it would then test whether you are able to create portfolio, because in the real world also you will have to then create portfolio after you clear level 3. you are now perfectly capable of making portfolio papers. That is something that they can only test in a subjective manner. Aside from level 3's one session, which is subjective, everything else is MCQ, no negative markings, 3 options. So even at level 2, you have case studies, 90 questions. All 90 questions will be MCQs. Let me know any doubts with the structure of level 1 and 2. All right. Now, looking at exam centers, due to computer-based testing, there are more centers than just the ones listed here. There can also be the
Excuse
small.
me, sorry to disturb.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned that, I mean, it's mentioned here that the level 2 exam is offered twice. That's in May and August. So if someone fails the August exam, so they'll have to directly give it in May.
Yeah, we'll discuss over here. We have details for all 3 levels. So I'll cover
Okay.
all possible cases there, not just for level 2.
Mm.
So how the structure is, now keep in mind, due to COVID, the structure this year might be different. But in general, the structure is that level 1 happens 4 times a year, every 3 months. So we have Feb, May, August, and November. Level 2 is May and August just for 2021. From 2022 onwards, level 2 will be Feb and August. And this will go on from 2022 onwards for foreseeable future. The reason why in 2021 they did this is because in 2021, because we didn't have any exams last year, February, just level 1 students were so many in number that they could not cram level 2 over there. Also, as per the regulations of CFA, they were planning to do computer-based testing for level 2 from next year, but they brought it forward 1 year due to the pandemic. So due to those few issues, uh, we have a different structure for level 2 just for this year, where we have one exam in May, which has already happened, and we have one in August. It didn't happen in India. India exams got cancelled, but we did had May exams outside India. And the next attempt is August. But due to pandemic, November is also available. So this was announced recently that all the May students were shifted to November. So November also has a 2021 exam. Level 3, May and November. This is going to be the structure this year and all the years going forward. So every year, 2022 also, level 3 only will happen twice a year. Level 2 will happen twice a year. Level 1 will happen 4 times a year. I'll repeat that subjective part, just give me a few minutes. Now, key thing is, if you clear the exam, let's say level 1, you appear for it in August. You clear it. When will you be next eligible for level 2? Feb 2022. Let's say you clear this also. When will you be next eligible for level 3? CFA Institute says that under no circumstance, whether you pass the exam or whether you fail the exam, under no circumstance can you appear in consecutive exam windows, which means if you're appearing for Feb, May is blocked to you. Under no circumstance can you apply in May. So for level 3, November 2020. Because you can never appear for consecutive exam windows, irrespective of whether that window is open for your attempt, for your level or not. Consecutive windows not allowed to anyone, which means if you give level 1 in August, and let's say unfortunately you Do not clear it. The November is not allowed. Your next level 1 attempt will be February next year. So under no circumstance can you give exams in consecutive windows. So at least 6-month gap between two exams, whether you're giving exams of same level or different levels, at least 6 months have to be there. Mostly it would be somewhere between 6 to 9 months, depending upon how the exams are structured. So I hope that clarifies all the doubts about attempts and sequencing and everything. Let me know if it's still a doubt. Anushka.
No, sir, got it. Thank you.
All right. Rohini, I'll repeat the part about the subjective part. So level 3 has one entire session where the exam is subjective, which means you will have to write the answer the same way we wrote the answer in the board exams in school or in graduation. Same way you will have to write the answers manually. So this is the one portion that will not be MCQ based. You will have to manually write all the answers. Saranya, go ahead. What's the doubt with the examples? If you need mic access, you can have it.
Sir?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So the doubt which I have is if I complete my level 1 in November 2021,
Yeah.
in May 2022 or August 2022, will I be able to my next level, sir?
Your level 2 would be then August.
August.
Because next year, May is not planned.
Okay,
Next
sir.
year. From
Okay.
next year onwards, level 2 would only be February and August.
Okay.
So August 2022 will be your
Level 2.
level 2. And if you clear this, level 3 will be May 2023.
May 2023.
Yeah, because
Okay, sir.
if you give exam in August, November 22, you're not eligible, irrespective of what your result is, because no one can appear in consecutive windows.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Rohini, yes, you can take as much gap as you want. So one common doubt students have is, let's say I did level 1 and then due to some reason I want to take a break. Take as much break as you want. You clearing level 1 has lifetime validity. So once you clear level 1, if you want to take 50 years to do level 2, you have your time. CFA Institute is not concerned with that. So you can take as much time as you want, and you can give as many attempts as you want. Hopefully that it doesn't come to that, but if it's required, you can take as many attempts. There is no restriction on time, no restriction on attempts. There is no sort of annual charges. So if you've given level 1, you want to take a few years before you register for level 2, entirely your choice. CFA Institute is not concerned with that. All right. So this is pretty much the table that we just covered here with all the attempts. Yes, before you register for level 1, you need to have a passport. So if you don't have a passport, even before applying for CFA, you need to apply for a passport. All right. Now looking at study material, normally you get study material from the CFA Institute itself. The moment you register, within a couple of days, you get a link for ebook. Ebook is included in the fees. You can pay extra for the physical books. Ebooks cover all the syllabus. Aside from that, if you register with EduPristine, EduPristine has its own study material. So you will have materials from Institute that you can always refer. If you need some other base materials, those are also available. One thing that you will need is a calculator. Texas BA2 Plus or BA2 Plus Professional. I would not recommend HP12C for you to buy. If you already have it, it's fine. But if you want to buy, which is what most people would do, because these are not financial calculators that people normally have, I would suggest do this one. Why? Because this is easier. Most of the lectures that I've taken, in fact, all of the lectures that I've taken, all students have this one. So tutorials and everything for Texas BA 2 Plus are very easy to find. It's very easy to understand. So I would recommend go for this one. Now, this is an extra cost of about 4,000. You can find these calculators from anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000 on Amazon and stuff. This is an additional cost you will have to pay because in exam, only these models are allowed. If you have any other calculator which is not one of these three, they will throw that calculator in the dustbin or they will not allow you to enter the exam. You can only enter the exam hall if the calculator you are carrying is one of these three models. That's it. So these calculators are the only ones allowed inside the exam hall. And trust me, as I said, CFA Institute does not bother with you remembering equations or calculations that you can do on calculator. So if at that stage, if you don't have calculator in the exam hall, you might as well leave and go back home because without calculator clearing CFA exam is next to impossible. You will be solving so many questions in a matter of 2 hours. If you don't have calculator, it's not happening. So very important, get one of these. Lastly, let's talk about the fees details. These are fees for the CFA Institute. So for EduPristine, whatever courses they offer, you can get details from someone at EduPristine, whoever the coordinator is. But these are fees that CFA Institute will charge. So at any time, you have two registrations available for all levels. One is an early registration, and then you have a standard registration. Early normally starts 9 months. 9 months before the exam will happen. So let's say right now you want to register. The early deadline is available for February 2022. For November, early is gone. So for February 2022, you will have an early registration. If you want to register for November attempt right now, it would be a standard registration. Standard is normally approximately 6 months. The exact dates are notified by CFA Institute, so you'll need to check their website for the exact dates for each attempt. They have a proper timeline given for that. But normally it's about 6 months for the standard and it's 9 months for the early registration. If you go for the standard registration, the exam fees is $1,000 and for the early, the exam fees is $700. This is the $300 that you save if you register early. So early registration saves you $300. Now at level 1 only, there is a one-time fees. One-time means when you first register for level 1, only then you have to pay. If you clear level 1, go to level 2, no need to pay this. If unfortunately you fail level 1, you want to reappear, no need to pay this. This is one time only. This is a sort of a lifetime student membership, if you want to call it that, of $450. So when you first time register for level 1, if you register for early, this is the charge, $1,150, or it would be $1,450 for standard fees. Next time when you go for level 2, you only have to give exam fees. This is for the exams. So for all subsequent exams, you only pay exam fees. No need to pay this 450. This 450 is just a one-time fees. That's it. Let me know if there's any doubt with the fees or any other details. All right. Next up, we will talk about the results. CFA Institute never releases information about passing marks. So there is no sort of marks that someone can tell you that, okay, if you score this much, you pass, otherwise you fail. No. The result is on a percentile basis. And normally CFA Institute internally takes the decision that how many people would be clearing the exams. And then out of all the people, let's say CFA Institute declares 40% result. They say that we 40% candidates have cleared the exam. The ones who score the top 40% marks, they all will clear. So there is a percentile system and there is no sort of cutoff as such. Due to this reason, there is no passing marks officially stated by CFA Institute, but in general, 70 to 75%. This is the ballpark figure. If you have your result in this or higher than this, you have a very high chance of clearing the exam, because normally it has been observed that people who score somewhere around here, they have normally cleared the exams. Now, this also, there's no way of actually knowing how much you have scored, because your own result will not tell you the number of questions you got right or the number of questions you got wrong. Rather, your own result will simply tell you whether you scored less than 50%, 50 to 70%, or more than 70%. That's it. So your own scorecard would also just bifurcate your result into these three elements. And sometimes it would also tell you what the top 10% students got. So over here, if you look at this, let's say this is your score. This line represents top 10%. This represents bottom 10%. This is the average of all students. This could be in a topic or in the entire exam. And this entire blue thing, this is your score. So you will get this kind of a result for each subject and for the entire exam as well. And so long as you are scoring more than at least the majority, a vast majority of students, if your scoring is somewhere in the top 20-30% of students, that will normally be good enough to clear the exams. Now, because the exam can be tough or it can be easy, there is no passing marks. So this 70 to 75 is also just a general estimate. Don't quote this. This is not an official figure. If the exam is tough, it would be tough for everyone. In that case, maybe 60% is good enough. If the exam is easy, it would be easy for every student. In that case, maybe 80 is also not good enough for you to clear, because most of the students ended up scoring 90%. So you have to be in the top few percentage of the students. Normally, historically, the result for level 1 has been about 40%. For level 2, it stays about 45%, and for level 3, 50%. So at level 2, at level 1, if you are in the top 20-30%, you can be relatively sure that yes, you will clear the exam. Similarly, for level 2 and level 3 also, you don't want to be on the margin. So don't go ahead thinking that I just want to be on top 40%. CFA Institute might call this 39, and in that case, you won't clear. So keep it the target for all three levels that you want to finish in the top 20-30% of all the students who are appearing, and you will have a very good shot at clearing the exam in the first attempt. Moving on to job prospects. Now I'll answer the query Sachin had also here itself. Outright, finance and investments. The key thing is experience. Now I understand a lot of people are freshers. They don't have experience. It's fine. What CFA does is, if you combine it with a graduation, whether it's BCom or any other graduation, CFA level 1, level 2, level 3. Even if you don't have the CFA charter, all three levels have their own importance. Level 1 makes you eligible for analytical jobs. All jobs, financial analysts, research analysts, all of these jobs are suitable for entry-level positions in financial industry. And for these level 1, If you just write in a resume, I've cleared CFA level 1, that is valuable. Level 2 is for specialist jobs, equity research, bonds, derivatives, people who specialize in a particular investment category. After clearing level 2, you will have access to those jobs. And level 3 is asset management, portfolio management, mutual fund managers. All of these higher level positions where you're managing a vast number of securities, those are going to be relatively useful once you have CFA level 3 done. So outright in finance, first job will require the most amount of effort. One good thing for you is that EduPristine, if you go for EduPristine, they provide placement assistance also. So that first job would be slightly easier with their placement assistance. But in finance, once you get a first job, your experience would be useful in finding you higher position jobs. So as you clear level 1, you look for job, you get the entry level job, then you work in that job for a year while preparing on the side for level 2. After you have 1 or 2 years of experience and you've also cleared level 2, you will be very eligible for higher level positions. Same thing for level 3. By the time you clear level 3, if you've been on the job for 2-3 years, you have experience as well as a very high level qualification. So all of these add up. Now, jobs also, you can have various industries. All the analyst level positions are normally for level 1. Then you have associate level positions for level 2, and level 3 gets you higher level hedge fund manager positions, all of those. Jobs are in investment companies, mutual funds, wealth management companies, brokers, stock market brokers, researchers, all of these. So all different kinds of institutions and organizations that have been hiring CFA professionals. You can see all across the world, there are investment companies that hire, but it's not just investment companies. For example, if I talk about, let's say, Tata Motors, it's an automobile company, but even they have to take decisions about what investments they should make with the idle cash they have, or maybe a larger financial investment. They would want some financial expert to look at that. So even corporate jobs or corporates that are not engaged in finance and investment industry do need financial experts. One last thing I want to clarify. After CFA level 3, you clear level 3, you can say that, okay, I've cleared all 3 exams, but this is not when you get your CFA charter. Charter is basically the degree. From level 3 to charter, you need 4,000 hours of work experience, spread across at least 3 years. Good thing is, this 4,000 hours, this can be at any time. So at no point does CFA Institute says that after level 3, you have to work for 3 years and then get a charter. No. If at the moment you clear level 3, you have eligible work experience. This is not any work experience. This would be eligible. And what is eligible, what is not, is decided by CFA Institute on a case-by-case basis. Normally, financial experience is relevant. Non-financial may not always be relevant, but there is no hard and fast rule. CFA Institute decides what is relevant and what is not on a case-by-case basis. This 4,000 hours of experience can be at any time in your professional career. So if you're someone who did a qualification, you did a job for a few years in finance, and now you want CFA for much higher positions in the company, all of your past financial experience would also be relevant when counting this 4,000 hours. So if at level 3 itself, you have done 4,000 hours by the time you clear level 3, you can immediately apply for charter. And normally in the job market also, the difference between level 3 and charters is only about 10%. In terms of your salaries, in terms of the kind of jobs you'll get, because people realize that someone who has cleared level 3, he would eventually get a charter as he starts working. So the gap is not too big. Rohini, yes, I hope that clarifies your doubt. Prior experience would count if it's in the financial side. IT
So,
experience may or may not. Yeah, go ahead.
so now I am a CS student. So will my job count? I mean, if I've worked for as a company secretary in the field of company secretaryship, will that count as
Is
working
that work experience from the internship part or from the
internship?
job part? Internship one, normally I would not, I won't take high hopes for that because for
Okay.
CA also, articleship, in rare
Okay.
cases, they have accepted it because sometimes we work in domains which are more financial,
Okay.
but more often than not, any articleship internship, they would not accept that. But
Okay.
that doesn't mean that it was 100% no. There have been cases where people working in audit
Okay.
have been considered that yes, that is relevant experience. So at no point does CFA Institute say that only financial markets are relevant. If in any capacity you are engaged in a work that has financial implications, you're dealing with financial statements, that is also relevant. Sometimes you might just be doing data analysis of financial data, that is also relevant. So CFA Institute, that is why it does not specify any hard and fast rule that okay, this is good, this is bad. They say that they will analyze everything on a case by case basis, looking at the experience that you've actually gained on the job.
Okay.
So it is possible, like when you apply for charter, they will clarify. This is something that I cannot clarify. Like I can come here and say that, okay, this is relevant, this is not, but that would
Right.
just be lying to you. The final
So,
decision,
so you would
yeah.
you suggest that we start working start taking some experience as soon as we start studying for CFA, like since level
Uh,
1, should we like
yeah,
start working?
there is no harm. Like if
By the time we reach the third level, we'll have a substantial amount of experience.
yeah, that is a perfectly fine approach. The level two would require the most amount of time. The only thing is, if you have a job, you can just stretch out the exams a little bit, maybe 3 months each. So you take 3 extra months for level one, level two, level three.
Okay.
So that would be the maximum thing. But at any point in the industry, also, it doesn't matter whether you've cleared the exams in 6 months or 9 months.
Okay.
It's never something that recruiters are very interested in, that why you didn't give the exam in the earliest possible opportunity. This is something that is not as important. If you have qualifications and experience that would get you a job, good. I would say that it's entirely your choice whether you want job after CFA, at least level 2 or level 3, or you want to start with the job along with CFA. Either approach is perfectly fine. There's no issues. For a lot of students who are just pursuing graduation, who are in final year of graduation, of course, for them, doing a job in the final year is not possible. So for them, normally clear level 1 and level 2, you can take the decision whether you want to do level 2 and find a job, or you want to get a job on the basis of graduation and then study level 2 alongside. This 4,000 hours can be at any time. Even
Okay.
before you registered for CFA level 1, if you had work experience, even that is relevant. So no requirement to have 4,000 hours. Only after you got associated with CFA Institute at any time in your career, if you've had this, that is something that CFA Institute would then evaluate. Saranya, yes, investment banking, if you get placements, that is normally something that is considered relevant. So it would definitely add value, not just in terms of your academic profile, but also in terms of your ability to get charter. So CFA program would definitely be helpful there. Rohini, once again, like I can say yes or no, but the final decision would be from CFA Institute. So like at any point, if you have a doubt, you can write a mail to CFA Institute with your work profile. So they often they take a little time to respond due to COVID and all the issues going on, but they will come back to you, and that way you will have a written email from the CFA Institute itself. All right. That is all about the CFA program. Let's just quickly go over details about EduPristine. So EduPristine has been operating in India for quite a long time now. And one surprising thing or one interesting thing, even when I took my CFA classes back in 2015 for level one, I took my level one classes at EduPristine. Now I have been a faculty at EduPristine for over nearly 3 years now, and they are part of a larger conglomerate in US by the name of Adtalem Global Education. They have various international courses, not just CFA, but like CMA and a lot of other international courses as well. Normally, the course of CFA, the exact details, fees, and everything, it can vary. So the coordinators would give you the best details for that. But in the general sense, when you register for the CFA program, uh, for the weekend batches, there are about 20 to 25 sessions that we have to cover the entire syllabus, 5 hours each. And it could be just Sunday batch, it could be Saturday, Sunday batch. The exact details, again, they might vary. In the EduPristine's uh, course, you have study material, you have access to question banks. All the lectures are recorded. So if you miss any lecture due to some reason, you will have access to the recorded version of that. There's an in-house LMS system, so you can log into their portal and there's a proper systematic approach to everything. You have forums for solving doubt and online access of recordings of study material. It is available at all times. This is online only for now due to the pandemic. It used to be face-to-face also. So in some locations, as the pandemic eases, we might even have face-to-face classes resume, because I think if I remember right, around January or February, some centers in Bombay started having face-to-face classes. So they were starting to resume that, and just as the second wave hit. So uh, you can coordinate with the local people to get more details if there would be any sort of face-to-face batches. So Rohini, for questions, there are about 2,500 here. There are about 4,000 questions that you get access to from the CFA Institute itself. They have an online portal which is free. Once you register for CFA, you get that portal that has about 1,500 questions. And all of your study material also has examples, end of chapter questions, all of that. So this question bank does not include the end of chapter questions, which are extra. So a lot of questions to practice. They provide, EduPristine provides soft skills and placement assistance also, which is something that we just discussed. And you will have faculties which would be from multiple topics. Normally, there are faculties that takes, some faculties take only equity, some take only bonds. Some would take all topics, so they will have multiple faculties. And batches would normally be smaller in size, so that each student has proper interactions. You get access for LMS for a longer period of time. So if you give exam and you fail, it doesn't mean that you will have to pay fees again. If it is within the validity allowed by EduPristine, you will continue to have the access for the next attempt that you give also. Aside from this, occasionally for each batch, there are some revision classes also at the end that are often done, which we call crash course, where we have 8-hour sessions for 5 days to cover the entire syllabus. This is more revisionary in nature. And aside from that, there are also some mock exams that are conducted, and regular tests. Rohini, for regular tests, in some batches, they have regular tests which are done after each topic, but in some batches, there is only mock tests. So, like, those are technical details that me being a visiting faculty at EduPristine, I would not be the perfect person to answer that. So,
Sir,
go ahead.
good afternoon, sir. Sir, I just did my BCom recently.
Yeah.
So, sir, is BCom with CFAs enough to get a job?
It should be. Like, first job, you will have to put in an effort to find, with the industry being as it is. And like, if there is no sort of placement support from graduation, you will have to put in a little effort in finding the first job, but it's common. In finance, the first job takes the most amount of effort. So yeah, The qualification wise, graduation and level 1 is good enough to get entry level jobs.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Aside from that, some of these companies are associated with EduPristine in terms of their placement services. So EduPristine does have placement types with some of these companies. That's pretty much it. You can contact whoever your local coordinator is at EduPristine to get more details. If at any point you come across doubts about the CFA program, not about the EduPristine side of things, but about CFA program, I'll leave you my contact details. My name is Shubham Goyal. I've cleared all 3 levels of CFA. I am associated with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and also Institute and Faculties of Actuaries in the UK. For the last almost 5 years, I have been teaching finance students and professionals. And for the last almost over 2.5 years, I've been associated with EduPristine as a visiting faculty. If you come across any doubts, you can reach out to me. WhatsApp, call, email, whatever you prefer. If you email, just keep in mind the spelling. It is Goyat. This is T. Yashwant, normally for that, like initially the entry level jobs, you will have to wait for clearing level 1 or maybe even clearing level 2. But eventually, like 3-4 years down the line, once you have 3-4 years of experience, the difference won't be much. So outright, I won't lie to you and say that it's the same field right away, but with little effort, it would come to the same level. So don't worry about it. Like if you have bachelor's in engineering, it's fine. Once you do level 1, you will have pretty much the same knowledge as any commerce graduate does. Level 1 is all about introductory material, which is same as graduation. So level 1 would even the playing field out, and once you do level 2 also, it would be easier for jobs in finance. Let me know if anyone has any doubts. Otherwise, that's it from my side for the seminar. Saranya, yes, in terms of qualification, CFA qualification holds internationally. So on the basis of this, you can apply to jobs anywhere around the world. If the job requirement is CFA, you're eligible for it. Rohini, for access to this particular seminar, you'll have to coordinate with EduPristine. Normally for classes, they have LMS, but since this is a seminar for students who are not yet registered with EduPristine, you probably won't have access to LMS, but there should be some other way for you to access. So that other way, someone from EduPristine, like if you contact the coordinators, they'll be able to help you out. Kiran, yes, 6-month gap is the minimum that you need. So if you give level 1 in Feb 2022, you are eligible for level 2 in August. All right, everyone. Thanks for attending the session, and we'll keep it at that. If you come across any doubts about CFA program, you can reach out to me. If you have doubts about EduPristine's offerings, you can reach out to them. Thanks for attending, and hopefully I'll see you guys.